Today our speakers are Mike Reifenstreeter, Project Engineer of the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, Daryl Severson, City Engineer, and Joe DeYoung with MSA. Mike is a transportation engineer and is in charge with overseeing multiple design projects in the south central Wisconsin counties of the state. He's been with the state for 20 plus years. Mike's been involved in multiple projects such as the Beltline and the Park Street interchange. His most current project on the Beltline includes a noise barrier along the West Beltline and other improvements there. Mike is a graduate of UW-Madison with a degree in civil and environmental engineering. Daryl worked briefly with the Department of Transportation and worked 10 years as an engineering consultant firm in Madison. He began his work with Sun Prairie in 1986 and served as the Sun Prairie City Senior Engineering Technician and Assistant City Engineer since 2001. He's held the position of City Engineer. Please welcome Mike and Daryl.
Good afternoon. I'm going to start off talking about the City of Sun Prairie projects, then I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and he's going to talk about the McCoy Road realignment and Sunfield Street construction projects, which are probably the projects that are interest you the most and probably impact you the most. But the City of Sun Prairie this year has about $4 million worth of work that we're going to be doing. That's up considerably in comparison to last year. We did about $3 million worth of work. Actually, our construction is going to be starting early next week, and actually it's going to be starting right out the door here. So it's going to have an impact on people in the business park, but not to the extent that it would be if we were totally reconstructing the streets. We're going to actually be doing what we call a pavement rehabilitation project, or up here it's noted as resurfacing. The work that we have lined up for 2013 includes just about everything that you can imagine in a city like ours. Reconstruction streets, resurfacing, stormwater extension, bike paths and sidewalks. That's pretty much what we do in the city. What I'm going to do is skip ahead here, I believe. This is a list of our projects. As you can see, it includes pretty much what I told you: bike paths, sidewalks, reconstruction. And what I want to now do is go back. You can see we're pretty much throughout the entire city. We're going to share the pain throughout the entire community. The project you see right here is going to be a bike path project. If you're a bike rider, you may have come from Madison into Sun Prairie along the path along 151. There's actually a tunnel under 151 that's been fenced off since about 2005 when that 151 was done. That's going to now be connected over to Hector Road, going through part of the city of Madison property. So we're hoping that project will get underway this year and be completed by the end of the year. But we're getting some funding on that project, and whenever you're getting funding, you've got a few extra hoops to jump through, and we're not sure if we're going to get to that point. Also, in Royal Oaks, we got a sidewalk project. That also is, we're receiving some funding and subject to the same delays. Again, we're hoping to get that done in 2013, if not 2014. This is the project Joe's going to be talking about near the Walmart Main Street area. I won't talk about that, I'll let Joe do that. We've got work up in here that we're talking about, Progress Way and Business Park Drive. That's the pavement rehab project I mentioned. Same thing happening here. Got a bike path project on Chase Boulevard connecting into the path that goes around Carriage Hills Pond. And then our more intense projects are located right here. Those are streets that we're going to totally reconstruct. Probably the most inconvenient project that we can do if you're a resident. We're completely removing everything from pretty much from property line to property line, putting everything back in there. Again, this is the business park. We're located right now someplace right over in here. Progress Way, Business Park Drive. Both projects will begin next week, and with the work that they're going to start with. Oops, excuse me. They're going to start with replacing spot repairs of curb and gutter. Not going to be too much inconvenience at that point in time. If there's a driveway that we've got to replace the curb and gutter in those areas, we're going to provide at least one lane of access so we won't completely shut down any of the businesses out here. Once the work begins, they have about 35 days to finish it, so it's a project that we kind of get in, get out quickly. Again, minimizing the amount of disturbance. What they'll start with, as I mentioned, curb and gutter replacement. That'll be followed up after the curb is cured with a pulverizing of the asphalt pavement. We have a big machine that essentially comes in, turns that asphalt pavement basically into what looks like a gravel. It'll be a black gravel with the asphalt. You'll be able to drive on that yet, but it's not going to be like the finished surface. Once they get the pavement pulverized, reshaped, test rolled, replace any bad spots that might be in the street, they'll repave that. Again, get in, get out, maybe 35 days worth of work. Same thing is happening on Business Park Drive. Again, County Truck N right here, Corporate Center Drive goes north and south through the business park. That work will be taking place at the same time. Contractor will be coming in next week doing the curb replacement and hopefully be in and out again in about 35 days. So that's essentially what we're talking about for a broad brush view of the work. Now I want to turn it over to Joe and let him talk about the project that hopefully will be a little bit more interest to you, the McCoy Road realignment project.
Hey, my name is Joe DeYoung. I work for MSA Professional Services. Been in front of you before on a couple of these different projects, but I'm assisting the city of Sun Prairie with this one. Again, we work with them quite a bit, so this is kind of a joint effort between city staff and MSA working in this area, which obviously has a lot of different elements to it in order to get this complete. But to go back kind of a little bit of the history behind this area is that we were started off in about 2009 and even sooner thinking about this large corridor that we have with Main Street. Basically one of our biggest traffic generators, one of our biggest intersections have been impacted by the last couple of years. And obviously here we are again working in the same area that we just were in 2011 and where we had even traffic barrels up in 2009. In 2009, we started off with a project right here. We started at Cronky Drive, that road that goes up to the old high school, 8th and 9th grade high school, I think it is right now, and then all the way to Claremont Street. Right in this area right here, Martin Claremont. See, we went that far in 2009 because we had the ability to get that much project done in 1 year, but also we had to wait for the DOT with their funding to help us out, which happened in 2011 with the new interchange and the O'Keefe intersection and the new signals that you're kind of already experiencing. So kind of going back through the history of this is that this has all been part of the bigger corridor and trying to help out with the traffic and the things that we were experiencing downtown to the west side and not having a nice way to get back and forth through there. So you see the twiddle lane, you see the 4 lanes of traffic, the red concrete, all those improvements have been going on, and here we are again back in this area trying to help out. So to kind of go through the intersection, O'Keefe intersection is kind of unique. Okay, it's very busy. You guys are fully aware of it. It's been improved a couple of times. But a couple of things we tried to do here in 2011 was to hopefully coordinate this a little bit better with the DOT signals, improve the area between the ramps that go onto 151 as well as O'Keefe Avenue, and then obviously where the city's portion of the project, as you see here, you can see the different type of improvements and movements that had to take place. This is a unique intersection. I refer to it because it's not really a 4-way intersection. And again, if Brooks Tractor is here, he'll probably admit it. They have very few trucks compared to what the turning movements needed in order to head southbound on O'Keefe and the through movements that come through on Main Street. So when you start seeing the improvements that you have to take a look at, here is the only bay and the only room to go onto McCoy or onto Brooks Tractor, but yet we have the 2 lanes that I'm sure everyone's driven here and the 2 receiving lanes for the amount of traffic that was anticipated with the Walmart expansion and with the amount of expansion that's going to continue on with O'Keefe all the way out to where the emergency room is currently located off of the new interchange. So this is all connected together. So when you look at the improvements that we had to consider, here again you have your 2 through lanes that are going into the downtown as well as a very long queued right turn lane because there's a lot of traffic coming off and making this turning movement in order to get to the roads and the projects that we're considering this year. All that was taken into account, and one of the things I want you to at least focus on right now, besides a couple lanes, is this is what the area is. You see this big curve right here? That's what it takes for a large truck that distributes to Chase Lumber, to Walmart, in order to make that turning movement. And if you look close to the spring, you'll still see that there's wheel marks in the grass area because they don't make it every time. So that becomes more of an issue now, because now look down here where the new road is going to be. It's kind of a big difference between the curve you see here compared to the curve that you see here. That all comes into effect when we're starting to relocate McCoy Road, and what we're about to talk about and show you. All those things are things that we've been focused on over the past couple years to make sure that we can accommodate the new road location. These are the improvements that are being proposed by the city, and when you're looking at them in the different areas, it's pretty simple. Right here is the city limits. So when I'm referring to the part of the project here, all of McCoy Road is planning on being repaired or replaced or somehow improved. And obviously Sunfield Street is shown here as well. This is where the city limits are. We are working with the town of Burke as well to improve outside of the city limits. So even though we only show up to this point, there's some improvements past, obviously out to Chase Lumber and down to McCoy's Farm, that are going to be improved as well. At least that's what our intention is. Once you get into this area, you see where the realignment takes place. You can see at this point, it's a full reconstruction, a full new road, going right through where the Walmart entrance used to be, right here next to the Super Loop. The other big improvement that we're doing in this area is the pond. We've had some stormwater issues in this area. And what we want to do is try and improve and create some capacity, as you can see right here, in order to help with some of the stormwater issues we're experiencing downstream. So what happens is we're going to cut off the water from Main Street, put it into this end right here, and you can see the old McCoy Road right there, and have it in here and store it, and then eventually it'll come right up back into the system and down O'Keefe Avenue. So that's kind of the stormwater improvement and the element of this project. The other thing that's being done is Sunfield Street. Now that we're in the area, we really do not want to disturb this area over and over. So we do the best we can to try and get a lot done at one time. Sunfield Street was added in to try and get this completed. The road's in bad shape. It's going to be a full reconstruction, plus some additional things that they're putting in. Here's a blow-up of the area and a couple things to focus. Obviously, taking McCoy Road from one side to the other has quite an impact on Super Loop. That's one of the things that we had to take into account when we were looking at this. Here is a new layout for Super Loop that's going to kind of fit in. So if you look at it, you can see there used to be that existing large drive that used to go right into the Walmart parking lot, and the old McCoy Road that used to be their circular pattern, along with the driveway that came right off the entrance to Walmart. With McCoy Road coming in front of them, it's still some kind of the same internal pattern that they're going to have, but obviously both of their access now comes out here. There will be no access to O'Keefe, no access to the north. So they'll be able to come in both locations, go around circular, and if they do not go through and obviously get service, they still have a bypass lane, as well as the storage and the ability to do things like there. The other thing we talked about before, to point it out, and again, just to look at both ones right here, the difference in the intersection in order to accommodate the semis. You can see this is where it used to be, this is where it is. There's a lot of utilities that have caused us. ATC has a guide pole right there that had to be moved to make this all work. Super Loop, ATC, Walmart have been nothing but cooperative on helping us get through this project. It's been one of the best things that when they saw a benefit, it really is better for everyone. And Super Loop, as you can see, they're getting obviously all this reconfigured in front of them along with a route of pass. Their business really won't see much of a difference. So that's some of the things that we really appreciate, was the help that we got from them in order to get as far as we are. The other things to look at is that you got this pond. It only shows a portion of it, but things we're going to do, there will be some landscaping improvements along this part of the pond. That's what our intentions are. We are also, as a city, looking at what we can do as an enhancement to the Main Street side of this pond as well. If there's some signage or some landscaping, those are things that the city is considering looking at and preserving the ability to do something either now or in the future, and yet we're just getting into that process, so we really don't have much to be able to say or share with that kind of information. Otherwise, you start getting into the intersection. There's a couple of things. Obviously, we have one lane going in with a turn lane that will eventually go into Walmart. You have this area right here that's painted, and that's only to allow more room for semis. They need to be able to pull into that area, yet we don't want our cars to have that much area to get into McCoy Road, but yet we need that so a semi can make that turn and have that sweeping area. This is not, moving McCoy Road is going to help. You know, there's a lot of people that can sit here and say that they've sat at McCoy Road before or after the meeting was put in, and whether or not to gamble on making that left-hand turn and getting out. Okay, that's pretty common. That was one of the biggest complaints we got. Moving McCoy Road back is going to help with spacing, but it's not the ideal answer. I mean, obviously we'd love to be able to do a lot more. This is not exactly a 90-degree intersection with Sunfield, but yet the improvements of bringing it this far obviously gives drivers more time to make that left-hand turn. Now I know the idea was, and you guys are aware of it, that this is only a left in or right in, right out. And yet there's that little slip lane that went over into Stark Automotive that some people might be able to get through if there's not enough traffic. But the idea is now that we pushed you further down in this direction, that now we can allow this left-hand turn because there's more space to see what's going on in that distance. So yeah, that's going to help. But the number one question we typically get is, well, are we going to consider signals? And right now our answer is not at this location. Because of those three movements that we talked about at O'Keefe and Main Street, and how important it is to allow the southbound movement coming from town, you know, and heading south, we're looking at signals in the future at Linnerud Drive. And we'll show that a little bit later, but that's where the main entrance of Walmart is going to line up, and that's where we kind of want to push traffic to, because here will always be an ability to have the left turns and the movements that we show here, but we see that as the bigger intersection that's going to have better spacing from Main Street in order to be able to time it. Now looking at Sunfield Street, the other thing that was shown is that we do have sidewalk improvements. And to kind of show back this one, what we're proposing on this side is sidewalk along the south side, the Walmart side of the project. There's really no reason to have people walking in this area in here, and we have a sidewalk that eventually leads over to Taco Bell and then underneath 151 and then out to the west side. So we want to keep that consistent. But when we get to Sunfield Street, that's one of the biggest improvements that we're proposing is sidewalk on both sides. As you can see through here, that it picks up right past the first business and heads all the way down past the bowling alley to Claremont, and the same thing on the north side as well. Now, I know Stark Automotive, I don't know if he's here or not, no, the sidewalk is not going through his building. So just to make sure we explained it, you know, they're fully aware where it is, but it's not through their building, it's just because of the aerial. So otherwise, it's a full reconstruction. The road is going to be at our maximum width that we have in our community of 39 feet. And again, this is a big road that helps out with a lot of the trucks and stuff that come through, but yet the time to do it was right now, which helps out obviously getting this area taken care of. Now let's see how this all ties in, obviously with the Walmart improvements that are being proposed. You've seen it out there, the fact that the old pick and save is coming down. This is how it kind of all ties together and what's being proposed. There's going to be 3 ponds in total when you come off of McCoy Road, 2 of them which are going to be a Walmart. Walmart's site is now going to drain towards these ponds. They're really going to reverse direction and come towards McCoy Road, towards our pond, is where all the collection is going to be. On the top side, it's the same thing. That's where our pond is being located, so it's kind of where all the stormwater is being collected and then routed through the same pipe that comes down O'Keefe Avenue to the south and ties into past city projects that have improved over the past couple of years. Actually, it's been worked on since the 2008 flooding. So those are all things that have been kind of laid out that we're working on. Otherwise, it still has a couple of entrances. Obviously, you see the new store. This is the existing Taco Bell. So you can see with the new road alignment that comes through, there will still be an access point just past Taco Bell, kind of like what the old Pick and Save Taco Bell driveway used to be. So there isn't much differences. There will be kind of a one right here that was shown before, but it's going to kind of be like a throw. It's going to be the ability to have some stacking distance and the ability to stack up before it gets to McCoy Road, before you enter their large parking lot that's going to encompass everywhere from Taco Bell all the way over to O'Keefe Avenue. So that kind of shows it together. And then here you can see the Linnerud Drive intersection, where how we've lined it up so that the intersection lines up across from that, so eventually signals will probably be considered. How soon will be will all depend on how the traffic reacts with the new store opening. With that, the only other thing is that there will be some connections coming across the parking lot into the adjoining property owner. But with our project concern and the timing, we're working at looking at doing this project yet this summer, late summer, early fall. With the Walmart project proceeding, we're kind of trying to work hand in hand to make this all work together, but that's what our goal will be. So with that, I think I've covered the project for Daryl and I, and any part of the city part before we can answer questions now or at the next point. Otherwise, we'll turn it over to you. One question.
Yeah, I'm glad you're thinking about landscaping those ponds because it's an area that, you know, that's a Sun Prairie entranceway, and things like, sometimes those things become trash pits in some cities. So, and it would be not a very good thing to look at coming here so we can run that ramp.
The question was asked about landscaping. It's a good thing that we're looking into the landscaping because of the concerns with trash and garbage that collects in these areas. There is some differences between the ponds, and we're doing some things hopefully to eliminate that. It's planned to be a wet pond. The issue is that it's going to be kind of hard to see. It's kind of deep into a hole that we really want to improve the outer perimeter of it than focusing on what's down below it. We are putting in some decorative rock for the riprap. We're not putting in your standard stone. We're going to use some type of colored stone and stuff to make it look better. One of the things about Walmart's pond is that they do have a fence requirement. They will have a fence around it, and I think the city's worked with them on what type of fence to install. But otherwise, the trees and the landscaping that's being proposed is obviously being installed in order to kind of shield and protect the ponds. The whole Main Street area, that's up for discussion. There's so many options that we have up in that area, but yet that's something that the city department's working on that either will proceed this year or just make sure that we preserve the ability to do it in the future. So, yes?
You mentioned McCoy Road sidewalk was going to go to the west side. Did you mention that? That there was a sidewalk on McCoy Road that was going to connect?
Look, I wonder.
On the new McCoy Road.
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have sidewalk planned right here on McCoy Road, and it's going to connect to the existing sidewalk, and there's a crossing. I think it's right across from Taco Bell.
That's what I was concerned. I mean, right now, I don't think there's a crossing that goes through there, is there?
We just painted it, and I thought we improved it with 2011 because we wanted to go underneath the ramps and the bridge, so it's supposed to connect through there. I don't have a recent aerial of it, but that was part of the plan, so there should be a painted crosswalk with a sidewalk now on the other side that was just installed. So that's the whole goal, is to try and get people safely over to the west side, but yet we really don't want them in this area or even going up to Main Street. We feel it's safer over here is where we want the crossing to be. Yes?
You may have already said, but I missed it. When do you anticipate starting this project?
The project is going out to bid right now. Our goal is to start this at the end of July, first part of August, and finish it up obviously this year. That kind of correlates nicely with the project that Walmart's doing. Obviously, they're not going to be done until 2014, but yet our goal is to kind of get some of the road improvements and those things out of the way when they come back and obviously tear down their old building and finish their parking lot. So this fall, basically this fall is the majority of the work. Thank you guys. We'll move on to the 19 project and we'll go from there.